Let's talk about the world of freight brokerage. It's so easy to get caught up in the obvious stuff, the trucks, the highways, the logistics, but the real story, the thing that separates a smooth delivery from a total disaster, well, that all happens way before a single wheel ever starts turning. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden risks that really define this business.
This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. Your job isn't just about playing matchmaker between a shipper and a carrier. Nope. It's really about navigating this landscape of competing interests where nobody fully trusts each other. You're the one in the middle, managing all that risk. That's a heavy, heavy responsibility.
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? As a broker, your mind is probably racing with all the things that could go wrong. A late delivery, damaged freight, maybe an accident on the highway. But what if I told you the single biggest danger isn't where most people are looking at all? I mean, think about it. A great broker is kind of like an air traffic controller for the entire country's highway system. You're juggling dozens of moving pieces, all these complex relationships, and super tight deadlines. It's this intense, high-pressure balancing act where just one tiny mistake can have absolutely massive consequences.
And this is so important to understand. Disasters in this industry hardly ever happen because someone wasn't working hard enough. They happen because a risk was either completely invisible or, even worse, it was seen and just ignored. The real danger is always hiding in the blind spots.
Okay, so let's pinpoint exactly where these failures get started. We're about to challenge probably the most common assumption in all of freight brokerage, this idea that all the danger is out there, on the road.
And check this out. This slide just lays it all out perfectly. See, most brokers are worried about what happens when the load is in transit or at the delivery point. But the reality, the real risk, the moment where you either win or lose control is right there at the very beginning. It's before you even book the carrier. It's during that vetting process. Sometimes it's on the very first phone call.
Just let that number sink in for a second. 90%. That means 9 out of every 10 major disasters, the kind that can absolutely tank a business, were set in motion by a mistake made in the office, not on the road. The game is pretty much over before the truck's engine even gets turned on.
So what are these mistakes? Well, we call them the original sins of brokerage. It's when you give out load details a little too freely. It's when you do a quick, surface-level check on a carrier instead of a deep dive. It's when you assume something is correct instead of getting hard confirmation. And, this is a big one, it's when the pressure to move fast makes you give up control.
So now, let's break down the anatomy of one of these disasters. You're about to see how these early, seemingly small mistakes can predictably snowball into the kind of catastrophic outcomes that every single broker dreads.
All right, first up, double brokering. This is when the carrier you hired secretly and illegally hands off the load to someone else. In that single moment, poof, you have no idea who has your customer's freight, if they're insured, or even where it's headed. You've just lost all visibility and all control.
And how does something like this even happen? Does this list look familiar? It ties right back to those original sins. Weak vetting and poor identity checks. They're like leaving the front door wide open. And without rock-solid communication controls, you won't even realize it's happened until it's way too late. Then you've got cargo fraud and load theft. Now, what's really important to get here is that this is usually a crime of deception. This isn't a highway robbery. These thieves aren't looking for a fight. They're looking for those predictable little weaknesses in your setup process that they can just exploit. They're targeting your paperwork, not your driver.
And here's exactly how they do it. They'll use a stolen MC number, that's the official license to operate, so they look legit. They'll hand you fake insurance docs that look totally real at a quick glance. Or they'll just pretend to be a reputable carrier you already know and trust. Every single one of these tactics is designed to take advantage of brokers who are moving too fast to verify.
And then there are ghost carriers. It's exactly what it sounds like. A carrier books your load and then just vanishes. Maybe they're a no-show for the pickup, or worse, they actually pick up the freight and then go completely dark. The second that communication stops, a clock starts ticking. And believe me, your response time in that moment will decide whether this is just a problem or a total loss.
Okay, so we've looked at all the ways things can go wrong. But here's the good news. These disasters are not random. So let's shift gears and focus on the solution, on how to develop the foresight to see a crisis coming and stop it dead in its tracks. If you only take one thing away from this, please let it be this. The risks you face are rarely new. They follow predictable patterns. The red flags, the excuses, the points where the communication starts to get weird, It's all happened before. The key is just learning to recognize these patterns as early as possible. This right here is incredibly practical. Let's just walk through it. A carrier gives you unverified contact info and says, "Oh, my dispatcher handles that?" That's an excuse. Your proactive response needs to be, "I understand, but I need to speak with the driver directly." Or they give you vague insurance info. "Don't worry, it's standard coverage." Nope. You come back with, "Please send the certificate for this specific load." This isn't about being difficult, it's about being a professional. So here's the deal. You have to act on these warning signs the second they pop up. A carrier who's slow to respond, or gives you conflicting stories, or is dodging your requests for paperwork, that's not a small issue. That is a massive red flag. Hesitation is your absolute worst enemy. Delaying, hoping the problem just kind of fixes itself, is how tiny issues turn into legal and financial nightmares.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. As we've seen, the job of a freight broker goes so much deeper than just moving stuff from A to B. It's really time we redefine what it actually means to be a professional in this field. And this is the ultimate takeaway. You have to stop thinking of yourself as just a matchmaker. A truly great broker is a disciplined, professional risk manager. Your real value isn't just finding a truck, it's making sure the entire process is secure, verified, and under control, from the very beginning to the very end.
And this slide is basically your report card, because when something does go wrong, this is what everyone, shippers, insurance companies, maybe even the courts, is going to judge you on. Did you perform a reasonable carrier selection? Was your communication clear? Was everything documented properly? And did you escalate problems the moment you saw them? This right here is the scorecard of a pro.
So, I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. When the pressure is on, when a crisis starts to unfold, take a really hard look at how you operate. Is your process a strong safety net designed to protect you, your carrier, and your customer? Or is it full of all these predictable little weaknesses just waiting to spring shut like a trap?